Hello and welcome back to what did we call it last time? We had a name.
It's the Northern Lights
Northern,
Rewind.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to the Northern Lights Rewind. We're here with a big group tonight. We got Lene, we got Styles as always, we got Ryan, and we are joined by the HBIC, the Queen of My Heart and all of yours, Miss Callie.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, Callie. Yeah. The head
Yay!
honcho of this shit, yeah. She makes it all go around.
Our queen.
We have a lot to go through tonight. We've had many, many eliminations since our last little get together. So, can we talk about our triple tribal? Let's just go over what happened and then we can delve into the tea. So, Styles, as our correspondent of recaps, can you give it to us?
Alrighty, so we go down the line. So we have Terra tribe we'll start with. Bear goes home in a 4-1 vote. Explosive tribal council, we'll get into it. Ventus, a crazy, pretty much last couple hours blindside on Kyle, someone who he thought was like kind of running the show. 4-2, I believe it was. And then Ignis was Ryan. I think that was 5-1. And that was also, well, he wasn't really necessarily being chaotic publicly, but he was like just doing a lot of shit. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, that's the numeric rundown.
Let's start with the Ryan boot because I feel like it's the least crazy. What happened and what could he have done better to stay?
He just wasn't there. He didn't show up.
Yeah. And when he showed up, he was a little crazy. So basically, like, what happened was Ryan just was like, he goes to like Brooke and a few other people saying like, let's vote Steve. And like this plan like has a chance to happen. But then Ryan decides he needs to tell Vince too. I don't really know why that is. But once it goes to Vince and Steve finds out about the plan, it's completely blown up. And like Brooke and Floyd had wanted to vote out Steve. They're like kind of contemplating it. They didn't really like trust him. They didn't really vibe with him well. And so when Ryan presented this idea, they're like, we're gonna let Ryan push it. But Ryan didn't know what he was doing. So it kind of became a mess and it blew up. And then during the tribal council portion, Ryan tried to flip the vote on Brooke, which was also just did not work. And it was kind of funny because he would like Steve was like, you know what, if the numbers are there, I'll do it, and then just still voted Ryan out. But Ryan went home because what host Ryan said. He didn't do it. He could have done it if he did that 2 days ago, set up the Steve plan like throughout time instead of like 2 hours before tribal, it could have had a chance, but it's just not how it works. So
Do you think that was the good choice for the tribe in general, or do you think they could have done something better for all of their games?
I think it made sense. It was an easy choice.
yeah.
I agree. I think it was too easy. I think it was too easy. I mean, I think there was a much bigger move that could have been made there. And it sucks because Ryan was like, he was somebody I was really excited to cast. He was, kind of inactive as the season went on. But like in Northern Lights, we always try to make sure that we're casting people that haven't played orgs before or are different, like from different communities. And so we were really excited about Ryan. So it was definitely sad, to see him go. But yeah.
It is what it is.
I wonder if it would have went differently. I know they didn't know, but we knew that the tribe merge was coming after. And I wonder if they would have picked someone else because they're like, oh, you know what? Maybe having someone inactive on the opposite tribe would have been to their benefit. But we'll never know. But I always want to know if they would have done something different if that was the case and they knew.
Well, that was my next question. Would Ryan have been dangerous to have make the merge? Like, do you think he would have flipped on all of them immediately? Or not the merge, the swap?
I think he would have been pretty loyal, and Callie can attest to this because we played a Big Brother of the Game house together. You know how I feel about bringing in actives to the end. I think it's always the best plan. Like anytime there's an inactive, like that's the person you want. Like if they're inactive, they're inactive with everybody, so they're gonna probably be loyal to you if you save them. So like I don't know, they probably should have taken out a bigger threat because like this is when you look back and maybe let's say Steve's name's on the board and Steve is the reason you go home. Like you're gonna look back and regret not considering just picking up that number, as everyone's always scared to piss somebody off. But sometimes you just have to. You have to do it, and then you have to rebuild as time goes on. Like the game is fluid, so it's tough to say. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Nothing crazy has like been consequential from that, but we'll see what happens.
Final thoughts on that tribe before it gets, swapped around.
It's kind of very low key, like before it gets swapped. Like they've had a lot of easy last, I don't know, round or two. So it's like nothing really exciting until the next stop.
Yeah.
The
They had a
only
break because they started off rough, right? Like didn't like they went to travel the first couple of times and then they just kind of really picked it back up and then they just had it easy and kept it laid it down easy because they didn't have to worry about going to travel ever. after
everything
that.
was unanimous. I'm pretty sure, by the way, too. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
There was like this cold war brewing. Like Brooke didn't want like Steve, and it was actually kind of a one-sided cold war. But like there was always like a possibility for a few rounds that could happen. But it just never did, and it really just resulted in kind of like slow gameplay. And I think like Ryan and those people that got evicted maybe will regret not trying to do something a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
People that got eliminated on that tribe should have came together and they tried to do something.
So I think we can move over and talk about Tara. Bear goes home in the most iconic exit at this like to that point for sure. If you missed it, it was like it's everything you want from like a blind. It wasn't even a blind side, it was just an exit. What could Bear have done to stay?
First of all, I adore Bear. I adore Bear. I think that she is great. And I'll be, I don't know. There was, I mean, maybe Styles can attest to this, and I will say that I try to stay out of some of the stuff that's happening so that I can make the most unbiased decisions when it comes to production. So I'm not as in, but I think that as soon as Isaiah and Jake went, I don't think Bear had a chance. Honestly, I know like there was some messiness that occurred, but I still don't think with or without that messiness, I don't think she had a chance. I think it was over. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I
As
agree.
both of them,
Honestly, that four-person alliance of Derek, Sam, Peter, and Luke, I mean, Peter and Luke at the end were like, maybe we could switch, but they were too tight. I think she was a victim of circumstance, and like she was just unfortunately with people who are very loyal to their alliance, and that no matter how honest she was, and she even said that, like, I told you guys the truth 100% of the time. It didn't matter to what she said. It was gonna be, they were just like, let's just pick them off and do the easy thing. It was unfortunate. Gonna miss her.
There was kind of some discussion between Luke and Peter of flipping on Sam and Derek throughout the day, but that kind of got squashed. Do you think they should have flipped on Derek and Sam, or do you think that Bear going was the best?
No, they absolutely should have. That might go down as like one of like, to me, one of like the worst moves of this game. Like everything, especially like everything that's happened up until this point that we'll get to, like this all could have been completely different if they would have just switched at that moment.
I think both sides of that alliance, like the Derek Sam duo and the Peter Luke duo, were like too afraid to flip on each other. But when it came down to it, Derek and Sam were running that tribe, and Peter and Luke were just kind of doing as they wanted, as Derek and Sam wanted. And so I think it would have been in their best benefit to make a flip there, and get one of them out before that swap happened.
I have a few polarizing and completely different opinions in all of you, which I'm sure we'll add for value. But so let's go back to what you said about like what Bear could have done differently. And this is nothing again. I think Bear is actually a really good player. She's really fucking good. Like she's social. She's actually understands the game pretty well, like naturally, because she's like a newer fan and stuff. But to be honest, the reason that it didn't work out for her is a couple things. First, she came in and relied on a pregame connection with Jake and Isaiah, where she kind of like was always gonna be with those guys, and it wasn't ever like I'm open to anything else. It was always Jake and Isaiah as the number one. And the thing is, like Isaiah a little bit more, but like Jake didn't really do anything for Bear. Like he didn't give her information or bond with her or anything like that. Isaiah was a little bit more open with her, but I think she probably could have been a little more open-minded to other things as well. Like she was always like, when Isaiah did the Luke plan to vote Luke, like, and she was like, yep, we're doing Luke. Like we're doing that. You know what I mean? And like she had just told Luke an hour before it happened, I'm never running your name down this game. And then she did that. You know, that's where the problem comes in. I'm sorry about
I'm honestly surprised though that
Sorry about that.
I was gonna say I'm honestly surprised that like Peter and Luke didn't at least consider flipping harder than they did, just because in their alliance chat they were talking and they were like, we're just gonna say either Luke, we're gonna say we're voting either Luke or Peter's name. Like they never said let's vote, we'll just say Sam's name or Derek's name. Like it must have been obvious a little bit that maybe they must have felt like, hey, we're not in control here. Maybe we're at the bottom of this alliance and we're running out of people. Maybe it's time to do a power flip or something. Uh, so I'm
Yeah.
surprised though that the bear couldn't convince them.
Yeah, I agree. I think too, and I was in a few diary room sessions with Bear, and I definitely agree with you, Styles, that there was like a pregame connection there. But Bear, from what I got from those, and I think that maybe actions in the game probably speak louder than the words that you say, but she was only playing for herself. And I unfortunately think that although she was relying on those pregame connections, I don't think that she knew as much. Like I think she was too trusting of Luke and Peter, and was expecting that like that honesty would help them to open up. And in my opinion, like in my, if I were to have been playing at that point, if I know that I'm at the bottom of an alliance, I am ready to flip as soon as I can. So I guess I'm just surprised that there was no flip made.
For Bear's performance at Tribal Council, do you think she took Peter's game down with her? Was it Luke? Who was she popping? Was it Luke or Peter?
Luke and
I think it was
Peter.
both.
Luke.
It was
Yeah.
both.
That was
Okay,
part. That was part of the problem too, though. It's like she was
did
always
she
on
pull
the.
them down with her, or do you think that it was kind of like whatever? Like Derek and Sam didn't really care at that point.
I think
I
it could have had
think
more
so.
impact if there wasn't a swap. I think the swap, you know, kind of canceled out anything she said. But I
Mhm.
think that if there wasn't a swap, I think it could have done some damage to Luke and Peter's game for sure.
Don't worry, I paid for that.
I think one of them would have went next for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with Sam's idol. Yeah, absolutely. The only problem with
Yeah.
like I think that they would have flipped if like the problem was like Bear was not to be anything that Luke and Peter said. She would go tell Sam and Derek, and then Sam and Derek would bring it up in the alliance chat, and it would just shut every possibility down. Like Bear just kept, and everybody else that was voted on that tribe kept trusting Derek and Sam. Like that
Yeah.
was their biggest mistake. If they were just like, "Yo, Luke and Peter, I'm riding with you, let's go," and they were like, "Fuck Sam and Derek," I feel like Bear could have had a better chance. Like if she really, really like doubled down with Peter and Luke, but she just always kept going back to Sam and Derek, and it blew everything up every single time. It did, and that was like kind of the ending of that. And then she was just toast after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. She went for those top dogs when she should have been chipping away at those loose bricks at the bottom, you know?
Are there any final thoughts on Terra Tribe before we move on to Ventus?
Power Trap was
I
good.
guess their losing streak, it was a rough one those last couple
It
ones, but-
was. It was. So Ventus, we see Kyle go home. Styles, walk us through how this went down.
It's a long one. All right, so like for a lot of this tribe, we're talking like my prediction every round was like Leah's gonna go home this round. Leah's gonna go home this round, and like this time it was supposed to be that. Like so everyone was gonna vote Leah, and then Leah was gonna go vote Rachel, I think, and maybe Liv was just gonna toss one extra vote on Rachel just in case. And so Kyle decides he wants to go around and plant seeds for the future, and Jimmy catches on to the fact that Faya and Kyle are like having like kind of similar. It's almost hard to explain because it's so weird because Kyle and Fire were not like uberly close and like didn't even plan this out, but they just like kind of were both doing the same thing somehow at the same time, and it tipped Jimmy off to like Kyle and Fire are working together in this game. And so Jimmy from that point gets on a voice call Liv and says like, yo, like Kyle and Fire are doing this and this and this. He was right because Kyle was trying to turn the tribe against Jimmy, you know, and he was like planting seeds and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. He was like telling Rachel that maybe we should vote Jimmy, even though he didn't mean it. And then, so that meeting of the minds takes place, and they agree. Let's flip this thing. Let's blow the whole thing up. Let's pull Leah and Rachel in, and let's get rid of Kyle. Let's get rid of Faya. He's super messy. Like Faya was actually like the main culprit, and Kyle was like kind of the backup target. And so Jimmy goes to Leah and basically blows everything up. And Leah is like had no clue what's going on until this point. So like she's shocked by all this. It's crazy. Like all these people are coming after Leah, and she like trusted them. So Leah obviously exposed everything that they say, and they come together. And then Rachel comes in, and they make an alliance chat. And then those four have like a Big Brother 24 leftovers type meeting. Or like, yo, they said, oh my god, like they said that to me too. Holy crap! And they like went crazy. And so like the plan was going to be the 2-2-2. Faya 2 votes, Kyle 2 votes, and then Leo was going to get 2 votes from Kyle and Faya. And then Faya won individual immunity, so Kyle went home 4-2.
It's
Iconic.
crazy.
Iconic
so much
behavior.
fun. I loved watching that. And I think that it would have played out completely different, but Jimmy's timing going to Leah was literally perfect because wasn't it Rachel that was trying to have like the VC with Leah and was just like was gonna
Yes.
blow everything up? And I feel like if it didn't come from Jimmy first and it came from Rachel, Jimmy would not be here. He would have already been gone for
Yeah,
sure.
Rachel wanted Jimmy gone, I'm pretty sure, actually. Like that
Mhm.
was like the initial thing with Rachel,
Yep.
and then everything was blown up, but Rachel was like, all right, not me. All right, see you later, and then just sent Kyle home, which was crazy.
Yeah, that was impeccable timing on Jimmy's part. Like,
Yeah, oh
if
yeah.
he wouldn't have done that, he would have for sure probably went out with his idol that round.
It's tough
Jimmy
it's tough to
was-
say. Who knows, but
that was a move. That was one of, I think, the better moves we had seen. I was very impressed by Jimmy in all
Yeah.
of that. Like Jimmy killed that round. And I know we've kind of talked about how like we don't know if that was the right move long term, but it might have saved him. It was a good move and it might have saved him in that moment. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Like I was so impressed by Jimmy.
yeah, he certainly locked down his number one alliance with Liv. Like that just like kind of bonded them together, and they're like clearly ride or dies. They share everything. I don't think it was the best long term move, but I don't know what's gonna happen in the long term. So we could go back from this a week from now. I'm like, man, Jimmy definitely did the right thing there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it's tough to say. In the short term, it was great, and it was amazing TV, whatever you want to call it, TV, amazing entertainment, amazing
I was too
entertainment.
busy listening to Bear's iconic moment. How did Kyle take the blind side?
He was very disappointed. I was hosting that tribal council and he was just kind of like, oh, good game, guys, and just kind of dropped off. He very respectful, very kind. It was actually heartbreaking because you could just
Yeah.
hear the sadness. And it was like he was playing so well. I just think Ventus's whole tribe social dynamic is crazy. It's changing every second. You blink
Mhm.
once and people are switching their votes. People are wanting someone else out. I'm just like,
It's wild. It's
there's so
high-level
much
stuff.
going on. Yeah, it's crazy. They're
It's
like the
high-level
most
stuff.
interesting. Yeah, the way
Well, it's going
too
to be
high level.
interesting when they merge, like the people who are left, like what are they going to do? Is there any like allegiance there, or do we think they're just going to be going all over the place?
Hell no, they'll be all over the place. They just
All
will.
over.
Yeah, it'll be Jimmy and Liv, and then Rachel and Leo probably work with like Steve and Vince and like whoever survives that tribe, and then you'll have Jimmy who fucking knows what Ventus is gonna do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's gonna
they're
be
like the wind, literally. Like they go and they just come and go and they blow
I would love
over.
to see Kyle stay. Kyle reminds me a lot of Adam Klein, the Survivor 33 winner. He just plays so hard and so crazy, and like he had his ups and downs for sure, but he was definitely really entertaining. So I was sad to see him go for sure.
I think Kyle even said in his like confessional at some point, I think it was like maybe like 30 minutes before tribal, he was like, all the seeds and everything that I've done today and all of the conversations I've had are literally going to make or break me, and we're about to find out. Like I think he kind of knew
yeah.
at that moment that everybody was kind of onto him, so he just kind of, and I mean even after that he went to his confessional and was just like, they got me, like good job for them, they saw through my bullshit. So I think he went out really gracefully and I really liked that.
Oh yeah, he was
He,
good.
his downfall was the classic playing too hard too early.
Yep, they compared notes. The ladies compared notes. That was kind of like the whole story. Is like the ladies came together and took out the like that was like the main thing. That's like the thing that at least is being sold to some people. So, but it was really cool. It was awesome.
So then we merge, or no, we swap. I keep thinking merge. We swapped. Terra Tribe is gone, and we only have Ignis and Ventus. So I think we can talk about Ventus and the people currently on Ventus. They haven't gone to tribal yet. So there's not a ton to discuss, but we can kind of talk about the dynamics and who's in a good place right now and who's kind of not. Who do you guys think is in the best place right now on the Ventus tribe?
Aiden says Jimmy.
Are we talking about like like just on this specific tribe, or like do we like in general
Just on
I-
Ventus right now.
on
I
Ventus?
wanted-
Probably Jimmy.
Oh, really? I was gonna say before Liv won all of these tokens, I thought it was her, but I think with her getting these tokens, it's really gonna put a watch out for her mark on like a big target on her. But I
Yeah.
thought she was playing it great. She's always talking to everyone. She gets along with everyone. She's funny. So yeah, I think like I would say Liv.
Yeah, I think that Liv will have a target, unfortunately. I would love to say that Faya is in a good place, but I think as the moment Faya loses at merge, Faya goes. I don't see him longer than that, unfortunately, just because he has been so dominant in comps. I think Brooke and Steve are maybe in trouble, maybe Steve more so than Brooke. Because I think Steve is maybe just a little bit more vocal about like big braining things. And so I think people so honestly, I do think Jimmy, and I also think Peter, just because I think Peter and Luke have had the time to like, they haven't gone to tribal yet. So they've had the time to like build some relationships. And originally we thought they were not going to be in the best place, coming from the only one from Terra. But I think if Peter/Luke can make it through to merge, especially Peter, I think Peter will be in a pretty good place. Peter's very smart, very, very smart. So
Peter.
I agree.
I think that Brooke is actually in the best spot of the tribe. That she's the only person that no one's mentioned as possibly being voted out. Everyone else has had their name mentioned in some kind of suspect way, and Brooke has not. Like everyone loves Brooke. No one's even like Brooke's a threat. Nothing. Like I think Brooke is like probably actually the safest, which is wild because she doesn't have like any really really close alliance. Because like she doesn't really click with Steve that well, and Luke and her had just met. Luke is doing good. I think Luke is. I'm proud of my buddy Luke. A lot of people for some reason trust him. I think Peter is the more dangerous strategist, but I think Luke has played the better social game on this tribe. When you like, I asked for rankings in the DR. Jimmy trusts Luke more than Peter. Brooke trusts Luke more than Peter. Liv trusts Luke more than Peter, and so I think he's doing well there. But I just don't know. Like we have to see with Luke. Like I don't know if he knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? It's his first game.
Yeah.
And there hasn't really been like a method to the madness. He's kind of just talking to everybody and like being nice and yeah. Like he hasn't. When I've joined his voice calls, he doesn't really give up much tea. He's just like, yeah, I'm with you. Like I feel good with you. Like he's just doing that with everybody. So I don't know what the hell he's thinking really, but he is doing well socially. So I'm proud of him. But I do agree with for obvious reasons the last couple of weeks, Callie, Peter is my winner pick actually, and I think that if he gets to the merge, that guy is. His threat level is just we'll get into Ignis and why that affects some of the Ventus or the old Terra people, but Peter is, if he gets there, is going to be a problem because that dude he understands the game more than almost probably Steve maybe understands a little bit more. But besides that, Peter really really gets it.
Yeah, I think you're right about Peter because Peter, I think for work he's like a sports broadcaster, so his whole job is to like analyze games and watch them. So I think he's really using that to his advantage. And I like Luke's the way he's approaching the game because it's like you said, this is his first org, you were saying, right?
Yes, it's his first game ever.
So it's fun watching people who it's their first time, like when all they have is the TV show to reference. They don't know anything. And like to see him do so well in his own way and his own gameplay is so fun and interesting. And with Brooke too, she's so lovable, you're right. I just like she could stab me in the back or backdoor me and I would be like, thank you. You know, like this tribe is just so interesting and they have such fun personalities. It's just great.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk a little bit about the alliances that have formed on Ventus so far? Someone wants to just dive in.
I'm like, let me find my phone and look at these.
All right, I'll kick it off. So like the original Ventus made an alliance. The Trident is called. Is with Faya, Jimmy, and Liv. However, Jimmy and Liv don't trust Faya, and Faya actually might even be a possible boot option if they go to Tribal Council. Like he's actually a really high chance of going home. Where actually Faya's like kind of doesn't. I think Faya wants one of the Terra people gone, and actually is like semi-loyal to the old Ventus for now. But they have that alliance. Then you have Luke and Peter, obviously a duo, and they're pretty much a public duo. Everyone kind of sees them as that, and they're right. And then you have Brooke and Steve. But the real perception from everybody is that Brooke, Faya, and Steve are together as a three, which isn't necessarily true. Steve and Faya are definitely together, but that 3 isn't strong, but it's seen as that, and that could end up being, I think, maybe Faya's demise potentially, because that's just a name that's been going around the most, and Steve's been like kind of thrown around as sus. Brooke has been more said as an option, as like, if we get rid of Steve / Faya, we can maybe pull Brooke in, or just generally pull Brooke in. So that's the basic rundown. They like the alliances from my perspective.
So
It's a tricky dynamic.
do we all think Faya is in the biggest trouble if they were to lose this current immunity challenge?
He's the most probable, I think. Him or Peter, I think, are the highest
Yep.
probability. There could be a possibility where like Liv ends up being a target, because like there are like these rumblings that everyone besides Jimmy and Liv might work together, but it just hasn't really like came together in any way, shape, or form. And so I think Jimmy and Liv are kind of just gonna control what happens at this point if they go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lene.
No, you're good. Go.
If it were me in the situation and I know merge is coming, I want Faya gone, because I mean, Faya is so dominant. Faya could literally, like, as a host, I'm watching Faya play. I feel like Faya could literally win every competition that he wanted to. Like, I want Faya gone before the merge. I don't want to wait and hope that he loses a competition, because I don't think he does. Like, I think
I hear you. I want Faya going first, like no matter what, like for so many reasons. For that reason, and like Faya is such a snake, and it's amazing. I love it. I love it so much. But he tells everybody's tea to everybody, and the problem is this season he's kind of getting exposed for it. People are comparing notes, so it's not going too well for him. But if he can like sneak by, he doesn't really have like anybody besides maybe Steve. Like he has nothing going, so his threat level might go down if the merge comes, because I think like once the merge comes, the big factions are kind of like, it's time to go to war. You're gonna have Jimmy versus Steve. Like that's what's kind of come to a head, I feel, at some point or another.
Either that, or he gets Joe England in Edge of Extinction, where like everyone else has people and places to go, and then Joe's just that big threat in the middle, and everyone's just like, cool, can we just get him out and move on with our lives?
Yeah, I can see that too. I could easily, because that's kind of what's happening on the tribe right now. It's like everyone's like, yeah, Faya's on the bottom and has nobody, but Faya's a huge threat and untrustworthy. So like that's like the vibe. That's literally exactly. That's a good reference, to be honest.
Yeah, we haven't seen him have any Achilles heel yet. I'm like, I don't know what he's bad at. Is that I don't even know like what he's not gonna show up and just turn out for. And I mean, I think if they let him get to like a final merge where it's individual immunity, I don't even know if they're gonna have a chance at that point to get him out. So that's what I would be worried about.
If you guys were on this tribe, who would you want to align with based on watching their gameplay?
Ooh, oh shit. None? Nobody? Brooke? No, Brooke. I want to align with Brooke. I don't even want to align. Luke is a snake, so I don't really want to align with Luke, to be honest.
I would probably align with Liv,
Yeah.
Brooke, and Peter, just because I feel like they're not like gonna be like red flags, and like if like we do have something where like we're all going to all going to tribal again and only one person in our tribe is safe. If I'm not in with the group on that's outside of like Faya, like I would be worried, because I'm like, if I'm on the outs and Faya just wins the individual immunity, who's gonna be next to the chopping block? Me.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
honestly, anyone except Faya I would want to be in an alliance with.
To be honest, yeah. To be honest, 100%. I think Peter and Liv and Brooke are like generally kind of loyal players too, and they also typically make the correct strategic decision at a lot of turns, where not everybody does that. Sometimes people just kind of do some random stuff and like go off the wire a little bit. Peter actually probably be the number one, because I think Peter is just the most logical player. Like it's always strategic. It's never an emotional decision with him.
Lene, any thoughts?
I think it's so hard, because there's just, I don't think I would choose Peter. I just feel like Peter's not around enough for me. I'm kind of a needy bitch. I mean, I need like not constant reassurance, but I need something from you. And I feel like Peter doesn't really give a lot. He
doesn't give much
like,
tea, to be honest. He really doesn't. He gives no tea, actually.
I've been listening to like a lot of like Liv's one-on-ones, because that girl is always in a VC.
Yeah.
I mean,
she's dangerous.
Her and Jimmy talked for over an hour today. And then I think she went from that call to like another one with Luke, and she was on with Luke for like another hour and a half. And like, that is what I need. So I would choose Liv. We would go back and forth all day long.
Liv is just like I don't know how to like. She's like probably the hardest person to read from a reduction standpoint because she like tells these lies. She tells a lie a day. That's like her thing. Like she goes into the DMs and she says like some crazy lie. But then she's like been really loyal to Jimmy, so it's like so tough to read. Like, is she a snake or is she?
Well, I feel like there's been a really
I
good
can't tell.
there's been a really good kind of slow burn with Liv because early on she wasn't playing super hard. She was a little bit quieter, but she's just like turning it up and turning it up. And honestly, I don't think she's gonna win, but I kind of want her to win.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's one of my favorite characters for sure. Just
Yes.
personally, like looking at it she's good. She's great. She's incredible entertainment.
Do you think she should have thrown one of the tokens that she won, one of the reward challenges?
It's tough to say. Like, it's hard to make that decision in the moment. You want to go and win. You know what I mean? Like, you love the game, but I think like her threat level is going to be super high. Like, if she burns those tokens successfully, I think she could slip into the shadows. I actually think it's in Jimmy's best interest to keep the tokens, just because people are going to be gunning for him. He's just a huge personality, and then it's actually in Liv's best interest to just get rid of him. And because once she does that, like, I think she's one of the best social players in the game. So if she gets rid of that threat, everyone's like, not going to worry about Liv. She's sweetheart, and then she just slides to the end and wins.
Mhm.
Yeah, if it was me playing, I would honestly, if I'm anticipating a final merge coming up, I would get rid of all my tokens. I would be like, I don't want to go into this with the biggest target on my back. I want everyone to forget that I won stuff. I want to go back under the radar with all these new people. So I would just use them both next time. Get
It's
rid of
good.
them.
Heck yeah, both. Two is crazy. One is like, all right, like I have some
Well,
power
she
here.
almost had 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that would have been bad. She should be happy. I mean, I know the Ventus one is a reveal vote, so it doesn't have much effect on the outcome of tribal councils, but it's just something else, you know? Like, it's just
Mhm.
another thing.
Stack.
She would have had one of each token too. Like I'm just checking. She would have had that would have been her win token. So if she was eliminated, that would have been her return.
Yeah, it should have been back in the game. Yeah, that would have been crazy.
Before we move on to Ignis, who, if they're going to a tribal, do you think is going? Last call, last guess.
For Ventus, probably Fire would be like just the easy guess. But then after that, I think Peter, to be honest. He's just like an easier move. Like, people are scared of Steve. People are like Jimmy, just for some reason is like, afraid of. He should get rid of Steve, I think, but he's like afraid of Steve's wrath, so it's gonna be easy to do Peter.
Yep.
No one like Peter. Peter is deadly, but Peter's not like Steve. You know, like Steve is kind of like this charisma. You know, so.
Callie, thoughts?
If they go to tribal, it's in their best interest to get rid of Faya.
Everybody's, I think, I do agree, because they might go into the merge unified by doing that too.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
it's
is-
that, or is by keeping him for the merge, you keeping around a big target so that you can kind of sit back for those first 1 or 2 merge votes.
Yeah,
You're right.
it's tough because he could obviously block you from winning immunity, and he's a little bit untrustworthy. But he is like, if he like Steve should definitely want Fire around. Like, that's the one Steve needs. I think Steve needs Fire around. Actually, I think if Fire goes, that's bad for Steve. That's terrible. So that's one person. Like, if I'm in Steve's spot, like Fire needs to stay. It has to happen. Like, I would play an idol for Fire. That's how much he needs to stay in the game for Steve, in my opinion.
Does Faya have any advantages? I should know that. Does Faya have any?
I don't think so,
No.
right? No, nothing.
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing.
No.
Any final thoughts on Ventus before we move on to Ignis?
Let's go,
This is-
Peter. Winner pick.
I love their tribe. It's wild.
Yeah, I need them to go to tribal because like that, like
I
we
kind
kind
of don't want them to go to tribal. I think if you keep all of these things going into the merge, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. I can actually see that, to be honest, because I can see that just like the people from Ignis that survive getting picked up for whatever, you know, cause that each side wants. It's like Steve versus Jimmy, I think, is going to be like the penultimate war at some point.
Well, and then I would say the last 2 or 3 votes right before merge is kind of like everyone inhaling and they don't want to let out the breath and like make a big move because they don't want to be a threat at the merge. But the second that merge hits, it's like chaos.
All bets are off, yo, 100%.
Yes. So Ignis tribe, we've lost 2 people. We've lost Floyd and Sam, 2, I would say, power players from their original tribes who had a lot of stuff going on. They seemed like they were in good spots and it all came crashing down. So what did Floyd do wrong? Why is Floyd on the pre-jury?
Lloyd, this one hurt my soul
I think it hurt
so
all of our
much.
souls.
And I
Yes.
was about Floyd. Floyd is just a gem of a human being.
Mhm.
Literally. It doesn't get any better than Floyd. Like, we are like peasants and we should all just worship Floyd.
Yes, I agree.
It's so
Um,
interesting because Floyd is such a social player, but I would be so misted by Floyd because Floyd is just so genuine. I mean,
I'm
like,
missed by him.
oh yeah, yeah, 100%. And like, I like to say that I'm a pretty social player, and I can like pick up on being misted. Floyd would absolutely miss the shit out of me because he's just so genuine and such a good person.
Yeah. As someone who played with him and got him to play this game, there was no shot in hell I was ever going to turn on Floyd in the org that we played here. Like, there's just no way.
I'm stunned that he's gone. I am fucking shocked. Excuse my language. I am shocked that he went. He went home because he's a loyal guy. Like, he was loyal to James, and they just like, I don't even understand why he went home. Like, what did he do wrong? I don't even know. Like, he was just
So-
like,
Danae was literally going through the DMs like, this is not right. Let's see what actually happened.
yeah. So
Yeah, I
Floyd
saw
made like a
that.
guy's
So-
lines apparently. That's what I heard.
So what happened was was already in an alliance, I think, with Vince and somebody who I don't know who the third is. It was like the three of them. And he went to Vince and was like, hey, like, what do you think about bringing Derek in? Like, we already have the three of us boys. We might as well like make it four to bring in a number. And I don't think that he like literally meant like, let's just make an all boys alliance and leave out the girls. He was just saying like Derek potentially could be a free agent. Like, why can't like why don't we come together and like get that? And it first of all, it was never made. It was just like a mention. And Vince was like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't think I can really trust Derek. And he was like, okay, cool. Like, that's fine. We don't have to do it. Left it alone. It was never made. And then Vince literally in that same breath went back and told the girls. And was just like,
No,
trying to
Vince,
make
man.
all boys alive.
Come on, Vince. I actually think it was mad smart by Vince, FYI, but I was like, Vince, why would you do such a thing? I get
Yeah.
where Floyd was coming from because like James was his number one on his tribe. Like Brooke was his number one, but James was his number one. Like I would do the same shit. And he didn't do anything. He did just threw the idea out there. And
Yep.
Vince
He
ran with that.
it.
And that's all it takes in this game is just something. And it
You
just
say
an
one
excuse.
wrong thing to the wrong person and it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like
and
Leah
the
and
girls
Rachel and
ate
Sam
it
and
up.
Derek are down for whatever.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They're like, whatever, all right, sounds good. You want to do Floyd, Vince? All right, sounds good. Put his name down. It's all good because they were just looking for anything at that point. That wasn't them.
Yeah.
Does Vince get the whole like respect for this move, like the credit?
It's his fault. Yeah.
Not his fault.
It's actually not a fault. I think it was actually pretty smart by. I think it's smart by him because he's just gonna be. I think he's gonna be really well connected at the merge. Like just everybody's gonna want to play with him probably. But
Well, and
I-
how does this affect Brooke going into a merge where, I mean, Floyd was her number one. Now he's not there. Do we think this puts Brooke in a worse position, or do you think it puts her in a better position because people know that their number one is not here anymore?
I think Brooke is resilient. I think Brooke will find a new closest ally, and I think they will do it well. I think as long as they don't go to tribal, which I don't know if that's going to happen, I think that Brooke will be okay when it comes down to it.
yeah, and her and Steve are close, but her and Luke are getting really close. So I could see like potentially them coming together and being like a ride or die because I know like Luke and Peter are boys, but Peter might get axed.
Yeah,
So
if
Luke-
Peter's out, and then Luke could also like that could be a really good thing because they both lost their number ones.
Yeah, exactly. I so tough. I think that's like the hard. Like Brooke could either really could go to the end and like win like unanimously, or go home like early merge because like she doesn't have like a super strong connection anywhere, but that helps her threat level too because everyone sees it that way too. Like they're just like Brooke's gonna sit out of the competition. That's actually good for Brooke in my opinion.
Brooke
I
is
don't
playing
know.
like if I were playing, Brooke is someone that I would want to align with because they're really
Mhm.
like they put the work in with getting to know you. They're not just like, like half-assing a conversation. So if people can like pick up on that and be like, oh, like this is someone who is going to get along with everybody, then I could see them being in trouble because social threat. But if people aren't picking up on that as much, then I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, it's good for her because she
Yeah.
doesn't have any like alliances, and everyone is
Yeah.
kind of really social. So
Mhm.
it's tough. I could really see her. I was saying for a while she could be like the Christian Hubicki from season 37. And like I think I'm like the opposite of that. I actually think she's one of the contenders to win because her threat level is like literally tiny right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think Brooke's ability to like be personable with every single person that they talk to is like a gift. And I think that it honestly, I think it's really going to work in their favor because you feel guilty about wanting to turn on someone who you've made a genuine connection with. And I think that even if they're not necessarily a comp beast, it's going to be difficult to convince people to turn on them because of that personable level. At least
Yeah.
I think. I would
Everyone
feel
feels like they can pull her
horrible.
in.
Yeah, and I'd feel like I could just trust them with everything. So I'm like, that's how I feel. But maybe I'm just an emotional player.
See, I disagree. So the thing with Brooke that I've noticed over like the last couple days is that Brooke is very personable. Everybody loves to talk to Brooke, but everybody talks to everybody else and says, Brooke gives me nothing. Brooke doesn't talk game with me because Brooke doesn't talk game with any of them at all.
Bro.
Like even today, Jimmy and Steve were like, we really love Brooke, but like that's on a personal level. On a game level, we have nothing. And I think
True.
everybody's starting to like talk about that, and they're like, like Brooke's a cool person. That's great, but like from a game standpoint, where is Brooke? What is Brooke doing? And why is Brooke not talking to anybody about their game? So it could be their downfall. Like, yeah, they're really personable, but they're not really making those game connections. They're making personal.
Bringing it back to Ignis, they just had their second tribal in a row tonight, and it was a big one.
Yeah, it was.
Giles, give us the play-by-play.
The play-by-play. All right, cool. So everyone, it's actually really a quiet day, and I was like waiting for something to happen. Like there was like some sus, like so Vince was like a little bit sus of Sam, and like there's just like some small things, nothing serious. Like there was never even a consideration really for anybody else besides James being the primary target. Obviously, James has an idol, so James plays his idol, and then Derek goes ahead and plays the idol that was gifted to him by Sam. Sam has had some mental health issues, which I get. I played like when I first started playing games, I had like a similar problem with it. Like I got too invested, and Sam was like kind of that way too. So she emotionally gives Derek the idol. Derek plays the idol for himself, and then all votes are nullified. Survivor Cambodia shout out. And
Us literally putting Kimmy's thing in the pride
yeah,
chat.
yeah,
They're
to
like,
explain
"In
like
case this
what the
happens."
scenarios. Yes, exactly. Like there could have been a fire making challenge tonight, hypothetically. And I know, you know what I think it. Sam and Derek should have came out and tried to make something happen publicly in that tribal chat. Like everyone knows that they're together, so what's the point of even trying to hide? Just throw a freaking name out. But it was insane, and Sam gives the idol to Derek, and Sam is voted out 3-1 to 1-1. But yeah, I said that there's 3 random votes just thrown around because obviously no one can discuss in the DMs, which is wild. Like just come out and say something publicly if you're Sam and Derek, I think, but. It is what it is. But Derek's still in the game, and Derek has nothing. Like, who is... If he can get off the tribe, in my opinion, Derek, like, who... Let's go after Derek. He's a huge threat. Nobody. Like, why would you say that? You know, like, Derek has nothing going on. Nothing at all. Besides, like, Luke and Peter, who already don't trust him. So, like, it should be interesting.
Yep.
I think it actually will... It could... It's not good for him, obviously, because Sam is his number one ally and told him everything. But I think long term, he could like kind of slip by a little bit if he could just kind of squeeze into like Luke and Peter and Jimmy and Liv come together. Derek comes off of Ignis. All right, I'm coming to work with you guys, and then slips into that alliance.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But it's crazy that Sam goes home in that scenario, considering that her idol saved. It's just so wild. But if you guys want to talk about it,
So what made Sam lose? Like, why did Sam lose?
just the emotional decision making, I think.
I think honestly, everyone on that tribe came in expecting Sam to almost like carry them in competitions. And when they realized that they were just getting pulverized by the Ventus tribe back to back, they were like, well, we might as well just get rid of our biggest target and like make it easier for us post merge is what I'm thinking, because they were like, we're not winning anyway, so we might as well get rid of them before they have a chance to win for themselves. That's at least how I feel like it went down. They were just like,
Yeah.
we're losing anyway, so what do we need our quote unquote team's comp
Yeah.
piece for anymore?
The problem too is the tight core alliance of this entire tribe has been randomly Vince, Leah, and Rachel. Leah and Rachel, former targets of each other, have come together. And actually, I could probably see them being like ride or die together. I could really see that because they don't have like a fellow ride or die at this point. So it's crazy to see that come together. And then Vince just bonded with them very hard. So Vince completely flips off of Ignis, and basically they controlled like the last 2 votes. Like whatever Vince wanted this time or last time, which was Floyd, it happened. And then this time it was like those 3 were the votes on Sam, and that's kind of what happened. Like Sam and Derek were. If James went home tonight, Sam and Derek just would have been on the outside and been gone next. I think Sam and
Mhm.
Derek probably should have maybe tried to make a move, but Sam and Derek were kind of effed because Floyd was never really gonna work with them either. So like they did what they had to do, but
They-
Vince, Lee, and Rachel kind of running the show for sure.
The game arc of Sam and Derek is, it is sad to see. I've been sitting here thinking of like the proper metaphor to use for their game arc, because I mean they were absolutely dominating Terra
Yeah.
Tribe, and it's hard to say if they just got a bad draw in the tribing process. But I mean they were like Goliath. That's the only metaphor I can think of, was like the David and Goliath type situation. They were like Goliath coming into this, and then all of a sudden, as soon as those tribe swaps, like all of their power went out the door.
That's the problem.
Yes.
That's
I
the
think
problem when
would've
you're a
been
Goliath.
better.
I think.
I think it would have been better for them if they had gotten separated, because I think both of their threat levels go down immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, and just going into a
Yeah.
swap, everyone was like, Tara. I don't really know why that is, but Tara's sus, Tara's dangerous. Like that's kind of like the common thing going into the swap. So it kind of like took away a lot of agency from them because everyone was like, Sam and Derek are huge threats, which they're really. I mean, was a huge threat, but they weren't like. There's definitely bigger threats, I think, than the Tara 4. But
Well, and I
Well,
don't know
yeah.
why it was a thing, because, and I mean, who knows, but did they not go to tribal the most, like by
They did.
losing competitions?
they
So
did.
I don't
That's why.
understand
that did.
why Tara was viewed as such a threat coming in by the other 2 tribes. I don't get that.
It was a bonding point, I think, for like the 4-person alliance on the old Ventus that came together. Like they just kind of bonded on the fact that Tara was like big targets. Like Leah didn't like Sam, Jimmy didn't like Sam, so that just obviously sparked that. And then Ignis just did whatever the fuck, like, all right, sounds good, Tara. All right, cool. And then that's kind of what happened. It was pretty
Yeah.
wild. It was pretty wild, the perception, because I think that was the weakest group of, because Luke and Peter, I don't think would have worked with Sam and Derek long term at all. But nobody knows it. Everyone always thinks that like, yo, there's tight, but it was like the exact opposite, I think.
Well, it's interesting that both pairs got swapped together it probably would have been good for both of them if that didn't happen, if they just got put with
Yep.
the other person
Yeah,
from like
I
the
agree.
other pair. What about James? He's kind of on like a little island right now.
He is. He's been on an island like all season almost. It's crazy.
What has James done to put himself in this position, or is it just bad luck?
I think there's some inactivity there. However, James's move tonight was iconic. I mean, I love that nobody really suspected that James had an idol. And then James whips out his idol. Like, I loved that,
It was
because I
brilliant.
think
Yes.
yeah, James is an underdog right now, and I'm a big underdog person, as you all know. So like getting to watch that was just really cool. I was rooting James on for sure.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love, like, James is iconic for that. Like, I know we know and they don't know, but I don't know, like, when they were voting and they had to submit their votes and it was 5 votes for James and just James voting, I was like, ooh, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be that
Was there
Idolies
any
and that
talk of a
one
split?
person.
Did no one
there-
bring up a split?
Vince
No.
thought about throwing a vote, and then Sam and Derek also talked about it when they talked about it during tribal council, which wasn't really loud, but it is what it is. But there was like sub talks, but it just kind of stayed solid because like the idea was like if we're gonna vote somebody and then come back to camp, like that's kind of just not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think James's problem was just like I think he's an amazing player, and he's like been voted for twice in a row, and he's like mad nice to them still. It's just literally his activity. Like these people on Ignis are crazy. Like they're DMing them each other all day.
Yeah.
And James, I guess, has a little bit more going on, so he's just not in the DMs as much. And the other thing is too, he doesn't really give too much information up. And like he does have information, he does. He was actually like in a really good spot in Ignis and could have maybe used that to his advantage, but he's kind of just laid low and made like personal connections, so no one trusts him on a game level, and that's why I think he's on the outs.
I think it's iconic that literally nobody thought that, oh, James would have an idol. Everyone was like, oh,
James, yeah, whatever. It sounds good. Easy mode.
Yeah.
Because
And
he
that
didn't play it
is
last time.
to watch. Yeah.
I think
Uh,
everybody would be floored to know which idol James got.
Yeah. I love it because everyone's like, this idol clue is impossible. I don't know how to solve this. And every tribe figured it out. And then you had
Yeah.
James with a picture. There was 4 idols in play. Now there's 2. But actually, how many idols are
I
in
think
play
there's
right now?
3.
There's
There's
it's
2 right now.
Jimmy and
Right now.
Steve.
Oh yeah, Jimmy.
I forget
Oh, I
that
keep
Steve has an
forgetting that-
idol, yo. That's gonna be a
Yeah.
problem for people, yo. Because Steve is gonna be able to catch on to the fact that people are voting for him. He just has that like kind of. He's a good read
Yeah.
on things.
That
Yes,
sixth
Woo!
sense he has. He has that sixth sense. He just
Yeah.
knows, you
Yep.
know?
Yep, he
Feel
does.
it in
was
your bones.
Steve was the first idol, right? Steve got the first idol.
Yeah, he found it probably about
Yeah,
what
when
2
he
minutes into
cheated
the game.
system.
So who do we think is in the best position on Ignis right now? If they have to go to another tribal, my cats are like breaking something. If they have to go to another tribal, who is like pretty much safe?
Rachel.
Yeah,
I
Rachel.
think safe and power position are 2 different things. I think Vince could like potentially, because I was looking at the DMs a little bit before I came on, and James and Derek were talking about like we should make something work, which is the absolute correct decision for them. They have to, because the vote's gonna be between those 2. And so like the only logical thing is to try to pull Vince in. So I think Vince has a lot of control of what happens if they go to tribal council. But I don't think he's necessarily the safest because he's like kind of a little bit messy. So like I could see, and maybe not like Kyle type thing, but I could see like Leah and Rachel and like James or Derek coming together and being like, yo, Vince is telling us this, and that. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden Vince is a target. But I think I agree. I think Rachel's a slightly lesser threat than Leah, so she's probably the safest. I think. Like I just don't think anyone will go
Leah's
for it.
good too. I think we were so concerned about Leah early game. I think Leah makes merge.
Yeah, she's just like the
Mhm.
biggest
Leah.
Ventus threat. Like she's just always gonna be a threat for some reason. Everyone's like, "Yo, Leah's mad connected, this, and that," and like and they're actually not wrong because she's doing well on this tribe, but she's just like such a big threat for some reason. I could see, no one's really intimidated by Rachel. I think, and that's why I think Rachel's like a little bit safer.
Rachel,
They
I
should-
think, has a clear path to Final 3. Like Rachel, I think, is playing this game so well.
Mhm.
Yes, man, she's good, and she like really thinks about everything too, which I'm impressed by.
She's kind of like Liv, where like, I guess Rachel was in a worse spot starting off than Liv was, but they both started a little bit like smaller and have just been like building and building. And now Rachel's put herself, she was in a good spot on her last tribe. She's in a good spot here. And I think come merge, like she has lots of options.
Yeah, she's like the most adaptable player I think in the game right
Mhm.
now.
Like some people, I feel like are
Mhm.
going to hit merge and they're only going to have like 1 or 2 things like options in front of them. Like Rachel has a lot.
Rachel has literally everything because her social game's good too. You know.
Mhm.
I think it's so interesting because you guys might have covered this already on prior podcasts, but we talked about how early game Rachel was fucked at the
Mhm.
very beginning.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Was gone. And then in production chat, we were literally saying if Rachel stays, Rachel makes it long term in the game, and that's literally exactly what happened.
Yeah. I think her and Leah is going to be real dangerous, man. They better go for those 2, and they're kind of being slept on a little bit, and people don't see them as close, and they're fucking dangerous because like there's an underrated connection. So Leah and Luke played in a Fortnite tournament with me, so like they know each other. They're not like super close or anything, but I could see like a Leah, Rachel, Peter, Luke, and like Brooke alliance coming together down. I could see that. I could see Leah and Brooke getting along really well too, and like that becoming like a powerful, potentially powerful group. That's just the way I see it.
Well, and just like the fact that Leah and Rachel's names were coming up on their original tribe, like that means their threat level's way lower than everyone else because everyone can kind of write them off like, they were in a bad spot, like they're not going to win this game, whatever. But
Yeah.
that gives them so much like potential then to just do whatever they want now.
Yeah, they're a fucking good spot. I could see both of them going far. I could see either of them winning. They're like top contenders for me, both of them.
So who's everyone's winner pick?
Oof.
I can't
You do
change
this
mine.
every
I can't
time.
I can't change it. I don't think Peter like the logical side of me, like I don't think Peter's gonna win. I just think like there's freaking sharks in this game. And he is too, but like Rachel and Leah are actually top. I think Rachel actually might be like I'm sticking with Peter because like I just have to, like for my own ego, but like Rachel 100% I think is like has the most options, like you said, Derek. By far almost. Like there's no like yeah, that's not gonna happen. Like, Rachel can't work with them. Like she could work with everybody that potentially makes a merge.
Yep.
I
Callie.
think I'm. Oops, sorry.
You know, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I think I'm gonna contradict what I said earlier. But I do think that Steve, bear with me here, has a decent chance because Steve has an idol, which I wasn't thinking about earlier. If Steve makes merge, Steve has an idol. I don't think they consider Steve right away as like an early boot in the merge, and maybe we'll see. But if they don't do that, then Steve still has his idol, and Steve is good at like strategizing things. Like Steve can big brain situations, and
Yeah.
so I wouldn't be surprised. I could see Steve as a potential winner pick, and I think that Steve is playing a very strong game. I think Steve is playing a very different game than Leah and Rachel, who are playing very social, more low key games. Steve is playing a loud game, but Steve can do that because Steve is smart, like really, really smart. So
Yeah. He's like probably the biggest. He probably understands the strategy the best. And he's like probably the best at like strategically maneuvering himself. It just so happens that this game, I think his threat level is like one of the highest. And like that's his only issue. If he can like somehow skate through and like maybe some people start beefing, he could definitely go to the end. I think he's like up there for sure. Because he's just so good.
Ryan,
Yeah.
winner pick.
Oh, it's so hard. Like right at this moment, if I had to pick, I really feel like after what happened tonight, James is gonna have his underdog arc. He's gonna rise up to the top. Like just I think everyone is gonna just like they're gonna be like, we couldn't get him last time. We can't get him this time. We just gotta go for someone else now. And then he's just gonna climb. I think it's gonna be James. I just see this trajectory going, and I'm just like, yeah.
I would love that. That'd be fucking amazing. I would love that. He's gonna have a hard time surviving tomorrow night because if they go to tribal once, he's in big trouble. But
And he's got that resume building now.
he
so.
does, yo. He made the Kelly Wentworth type thing going. So
Mhm. James does not count.
I know that was crazy, yo. That was amazing.
Lene, winner pick.
Oh, I don't know. Live. I think I'm gonna go live right now.
good one too. Yeah,
Yeah, she's shown that she's very adaptable. I mean, on the original Ventus tribe, she didn't know any of those people, like none. And she somehow worked her way to be Jimmy's final two in the game. Like,
That's a good spot to be in because he's
yeah,
always
it's
gonna be the
somebody
number one
you
target.
don't know, and he's literally giving her every single piece of information he knows.
He
As
told her
soon
about
as
the
he
idol.
gets it- yeah, he told her about the idol. He told her how to get the idol. Like, there's not anything that he has not told her to this point that I know of, and I just feel like if she can maintain that with him and get to merge and maybe use maybe at least one of those tokens, I think she very much goes under the radar. I think she could blend in with some people and just kind of coast for a minute because her threat level will be completely diminished because she'll have all these huge personalities around her that like Leah, for example. I think Leah goes before Liv. She's just such a bigger personality and she can hide behind a lot of these people.
You're
I
definitely
worry
right.
for Liv is if she doesn't do anything now to work on her threat level, I think she's a good potential merge boot. Or like second merge boot. But if she can get past that and just like lower her threat level, I think she can make it to the end very easily. And then she's so charismatic, I think she can win over a jury.
Derek, winner pick.
Liv, I want to say Liv. I think it's because I want
Copy
her to
me.
win. Okay, fine. It's not
Pick
Liv
your own
and
pick.
Rachel. I think those are the two that I'm looking at right
I'm
now.
sticking with my pick because I'm an egotistical dick. But do we actually? I actually do have a question. Do any of us have anybody that's just like out of it? Like they're definitely not going to win, or do we think every single person actually has a chance to win?
No, I was literally just gonna say that. I think people that like haven't gotten to see this like season's gameplay would underestimate this cast. This cast is filled with just like killers. I mean, like if we were to make Stars cast in a few seasons from now, I would have a very hard time narrowing down from this cast. Like they are here to play.
Hell
I
yeah,
think-
it's gonna be
Yeah.
good.
I think that Faya and Derek have the hardest
Yes.
and like
Mhm.
paths to get to the end. But I mean, who's to say Faya doesn't go on an immunity streak? Who's to say that Derek doesn't pick up some of these other people who've lost allies like Brooke, or let's say Peter goes home and he pulls in Luke. Like there's ways
Mhm.
that he could maneuver.
I
The-
think if Derek
Mm.
gets to the end though, and he gets through like his resume building, I mean, I think it's a little bit like incognito, but like, what is this, his 6th, 7th travel in a row? And we're not even at like the merge. Like,
Yeah.
how many, if you go to the end and you say, hi, I went to like 14 travel councils, I would be like, what kind of social mastermind are you? Because you survived 14 times. But
Got
yeah,
some
they can get there.
he got an idol gifted to him. I mean, obviously it was by his closest ally, but like he's picking the right allies.
Clearly, yeah. They got a fucking free idol. Hey, here's an idol, Derek. Congratulations. And then he
Ain't
saves
no one's
himself with it.
given ain't no one's given me an idol. So
Exactly. He's doing something right. You know what I mean?
Okay, final
That's-
question. Who from this pre-merge do we want to see come back into the game the most? And why?
Oof.
Lily,
Lene?
Lily.
Still Lily.
Lily.
Okay, because
Uh,
has she not competed in like the last two?
yeah, no,
sure.
I'm not gonna lie. We have some good candidates here. I think Bear is up there just because chaos, and I think Kyle would be a good candidate. And that's like it. I don't know.
I would love to see Lily return. I just think Lily has been busy with school stuff. And I think that this was Lily's not first, maybe her second org ever. She plays LRGs, but this is her second org. And I just think that like not knowing her way around Discord really messed her up, and it sucks because we were so excited to cast Lily. Like we were just
Yeah.
waiting to get her interview questions in so we could send her acceptance. Like it was
Yeah.
She's got to be
Um,
second chances. It's just how does she fit in strategically with these absolute monsters that are playing so hard? Like, how does she fit into that?
well.
That's
I
my
think
worry.
you- Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say from what I've heard, Lily's an absolute monster in LRGs, and in my opinion, LRGs are harder than orgs.
Yeah, she's
but-
really likable. I could see
Yeah.
it.
So, but I don't necessarily like. I would love for her to come back in, but I'm a Bear stan, so
Yeah, I would love me some Bear.
I
we
want
all
Bear.
we gotta love. How can
Bear
you
would
not?
come in and just say, I'm here to cause as much chaos as possible. I'm getting my revenge.
Yeah, she'd probably get voted out the first vote because of that.
But
But it'd be
it'd be
great
entertaining.
entertainment.
None the
absolutely,
lead,
yeah.
nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Mother Bear, she's gonna come in and you're gonna hear her roar. I want Mother Bear to come back in, make some noise, and take it to the end and show them that, you know what, playing that honest game is worth it.
yeah,
I feel like her
100%.
spokesperson.
Well,
she's great. Yeah, she's great.
I think we've talked long enough. The next time we come together, we'll be like we'll be in the merge.
Yeah, crazy shit is gonna go down probably. So be ready
Mhm.
for that one. Yeah, because
We're
it's been
about to-
crazy the last few days here.
double tomorrow, and then merge happens,
Mm-hmm.
and then sometime next week, late next week, we should have for sure our person coming back into the game. So we have an exciting week ahead for sure.
Thank you for coming and doing this with us, Callie.
Yeah,
Yay,
Callie,
thanks for
Icon.
having me.
Callie's a
Appreciate-
superstar.
Do you think we're biased?
Do I think you guys are biased?
Yeah, we've been told that all week.
Oh, no, I think we talked about a lot of players' strengths here. Like I said earlier, as like the head host, you will notice that sometimes my reads are wrong, but that's intentional because I when it comes down to it, the decisions come to me, and I want to be able to make the most unbiased decision possible. So if I stay out of what's happening in the game, I can make more fair decisions. So that's kind of why I do that. Socialize. So, but yeah, no, I don't feel that way.
That is amazing.
So
Who's our next guest? We need to get like. We
it's
need to
Brian,
get-
isn't
I
it?
think it's Brian.
We need to get
Okay.
Cesar on for the drama because Cesar is the one that said we were biased. We got to get Cesar on.
You
Yes,
Get
Cesar.
Cesar at the same time.
Yo, we'll take that 100%.
Yeah.
No, we
I-
absolutely. Y'all are psychos.
No, we're not. This would be amazing. It's
We're
all
here
about
for the entertainment. We're here to. We're
Yeah.
an entertaining program. We're not here to.
Me and Cesar will argue about the game 100%. It'll be funny.
That'll be
Listen, I
good.
try to keep this to an hour. I don't want it to be 4.
That's true too. That's true too. Okay, so we're logging off. This has been the Northern Lights recap. Wait, no, Northern Lights.
Well, that's
Northern
rewind.
Lights rewind.
Rewind that. And we'll-
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
All right.
Hey,